In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create our own legend here, which is still in Canvas. However, this will not have a clickable function. But if you hover over these lines here, look at the numbers, you can see it shows the numbers based on which line with the matching value. And you can see if we do that again, you can see 6, 6, and number 9 here for black. And here 2 times 9 for red and black, and then number 5 here for blue. So let's start to look how we can create this in our legend. So let's start to look how to create a legend that shows the values on Hover in Chart.js. To do this, first of all, we're going to get our border template, which you can find on Chartjs3.com, getting started. And once you're on here, and by the way, this link you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on here, scroll down here and grab this border template. And copy all of this. If you want to understand the border template, watch this video here. So then I will just paste that in there. I will cut this out and then I'll paste this in here, save and refresh. Now we have this. Let's convert this into a line chart and maximize the size of it. So I'm going to say here 80%, scroll down here, make this a line chart, and finally I want to copy all of this. I'm going to say here we want 2 more data sets. If I save this, refresh, you can see we have 2 more data sets, but all the values are stacked on top of each other. So let's start to change that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give every data set a independent color. So this one will be black. So this will be the black sales, for example. Then we have another one here for the blue. And it will be the blue sales. Let's remove all of those. There we are. This will be blue. And finally here the upper value is the red sales. And we say here red. So what I will do with the red, I'll leave the values like that. This one here I will make it 6, 5, 6, 5, 6, 5, and 6. Then I want to say here 9, 8, and then I guess here 9, and then 9 again, that's fine, and 8, and then 8. Save, refresh. So now we have this here. You can see here this looks all fine, it's all working. What we're going to do now is we're going to put in here basically some space, and we're going to start to, or at least we want to remove these. And we're going to create our own legend within here, for example. So how will we do this? Well, first of all, I want to hide the legend. So we're going to say here, plugins. We're going to say legend, and then we're going to say here, display equals false. Save, refresh. As you can see here, now we're missing a chunk of space. And what I need to do is I need to force to have some space on top of it. So what I'm going to do here is just here below, I'm going to say here layout, and then in the layout I'm going to say a padding at the very top. And how much padding? Maybe 25 pixels. That should be fine. If you save this, make sure you have a comma here, save, refresh. Of course, we can always adjust the amount of pixels here up. So that doesn't matter really. So now let's start to work on the most important part, is the plugin as well, or the customization of it. So in the options here, you can see here till here. Just after that, I'm going to enter, then plugins. I'm going to create a custom plugin here. Let's call it our custom legend. Copy this. I'm going to say / this plugin block. And then I'm going to say here, constant custom legend equals this. Say ID custom legend. And then what I want to do is, when would I like to draw this item? I guess we can draw just before the data set has been drawn, so that doesn't matter. And the reason why is if ever you would want to maintain the tooltip, it still will overlap on top of the tooltip, so that's fine. So we're going to say here before data sets draw, and then we're going to say a chart, arcs, and plugin options. Plugin options. Although I will not use the last 2 values, we don't need them, but we will need this argument, and this argument is also an object itself. So I'm going to say constant, and what I'm going to do here is object destructuring. If you don't understand what is object destructuring, I have a video in the description box, understanding object destructuring for Chart.js. Very, very crucial for this video to know this. So what I'm going to do here, ctx, and then we're going to say what do we need here. Probably we'll need the data. We might need the legend, well, most likely, And then within the legend, we're going to get here the legend items. Like that. Next, chart area will be necessary. So we're going to say here chart area. And the chart area will say here top and bottom. And then here what we should have as well, I suspect the scales. And of course we can always add or remove if ever we need to add something here. So we're going to say here the scales will be X and Y value. That will be very important. And I suspect here the tooltip. So I'm going to put in tooltip here, and probably I will add up something here later on. So let's look at this. So what I want to do here, first of all, I'm going to say here ctx.save, because I want to save our default structure or setting what we have now. That is our default. So we're going to save that so the canvas have this default setting. Now what I want to do is, and I guess that's why I need to have the tooltip, I'm going to show you exactly what I want. If I do a console log here, say tooltip, save, refresh, open up the developer tab, you can see here we get something very interesting. We get a lot of information here, but you can see here the active, and this active shows 0. And if I go hover over it, you can see we get now information. If I click on this, and then you can see here active, again 0, or I was expecting something. Well, what we can do is dot underscore active, save. Let's grab this one, that's just one level down, because you can see here now we have nothing. But if I go here, we get a value only when we hover on it. And what we get then here is very useful for us. Basically what it really says is which data set are we hovering on top, plus what is the index of it. So what I want to do, of course, is to create the arbitrary line on first, because that was part of this question. So going up to down here, let's draw that arbitrary line. But with this is very important. We only want to see the line if we are hovering on a certain value. So what I'm going to say here, if the tooltip is active, well, what I can do is the following. I can remove all of this, and I'm going to say here colon, and I'm going to say here underscore active. So you might wonder why underscore. Well, this underscore here would indicate that if ever is a Chartjs version 4, they might want to remove this structure, because this is probably something that they have like a to-do list on, but they're not fully aware or figured out where to place that. So in Chartjs 4, if ever that would be released, this might change. So this will be suitable for every version of Chartjs 3, but for 4, I do not know, and I cannot guarantee you that one. Of course, you can always test it, and probably by then I have other videos. So this is the most important one here. We have this. Then what I want to do is I want to just say only this. We have this here, and I guess we can say now if statement. Or let me just test this before we even do something. Save, refresh. So you can see here undefined, and then here defined. So what I want to do is I don't want to have this undefined at all. I only want to do an if statement. If ever it does recognize something, show. If it doesn't, then do not show anything. So we're going to create a if statement here, just a basic if statement. Say if, and then what we're going to do here, let's grab this, put this in here, and then what I want to do here is just grab this, put it in here, save, refresh. Now it does nothing, and you can see even if you hover over everywhere, but now it does. And there we are. That looks absolutely phenomenal. And then if you move away, it is nothing. So now we have the most important part. This here allows us to show, for example, a line, a shape, or whatever you want. So for example, if I would do here a very quick example, ctx dot fill rec. Alright, so say fill rectangle. I'm going to create a quick rectangle at position 10, 10, 10, and 10. If I save this, you will see 10 pixels by 10 pixels, at least that's the position, and then the width is 10 and the height is 10. Refresh. If I do here now, look at that. It will only show if we have, if we are hovering. So basically, very similar to the tooltip. Only you can see the event or the effect is not gradual, it's instant. Alright, very important. So now this is confirmed. What I want to do here is I'm going to say ctx.begin path, because I want to draw a new shape. Make sure P should be capitalized in path, and this new shape will be independent from anything else that we have. So we're going to make this line from here to there. So what I want to do now is I'm going to say here ctx.line width, and let's make the width of this line 3 pixels. And then what I want to do is I want to say here ctx.stroke style for the color. And the stroke style color, let's make that gray in the British way with the alpha. And then what I want to do here is I'm going to say ctx.move to. And this here, with capitalized T, is the starting point of our dot. So basically I want to start here with our dot, and then we draw the line going down here if we hover on this specific item. So what we're going to do here is the X and Y. So how do we get these? Well, here we're going to use some nice tricks. The first one is probably the easiest one, is this one here. We're going to say dot Y, and then we say, or sorry, not even here dot Y, but it's the Y position. And that will be on the very top. Top is basically in the chart area here, this line here. So wherever, if you're here, it should be then this as the top. So we're going to say your top. That's the first one. We can also continue on with the line tool, which would indicate to draw the line from that moment, or where the line needs to go. And this one should be then X and Y as well, but this one will be on the bottom. So it will draw from here all the way down to here. So now we need to make sure that it understands if you're hovering on this Tuesday or this item here, the line should be here or there or wherever we are hovering on. So what we're going to do here is basically this. So we have this here. Well, let's refresh, open up the developer tab, and let's hover on one item. There we are. So once we hover on one item, click on this, and you can see here what we get. We get the data set index number. So we were hovering on the red item. That is correct. So that's the red line was dataset 1, or sorry, dataset, the first dataset, which is index 0. And then we have also here index number 4, which is correct because that's Friday, so it's zero-based calculation for array. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so that makes all sense. So how do we get this then? We're just going to say here dot data set, and then if I'm not mistaken, dataset index. So let's copy that and put that in there. And then I want to do another one. We have this, but then we say here just the index. So if I save this now, refresh, hover, you can see here 0 and 4, or 4, index 4, and dataset index 0. If you go on black line, it should be dataset index 2, and then the value number 5. Alright, this all helps us, but what we really need is not the dataset in this case, because they are all identical, but the index number. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to say here a special command. I just start here, say dot, and this is a Chartjs built-in command where we say basically get pixel for value, and the value would be, well, what I want to do is before I even put in this, let's say we put in number 1, so you can see it, and then after I'm going to put that code in there, then you understand the logic. So if I hover over it. Here, alright, it doesn't draw yet. So why it doesn't draw, I realized, of course, I didn't define the command to draw. Here, basically, this is starting point. This is where the line has to go, but it didn't draw yet. So this is just a intention to. So now I'm going to say the command to the computer, please draw now. So it's ctx dot stroke, of course, because this is a canvas, and stroke, if we talk about stroke, it's like a paint brush stroke. So when you use a paintbrush, you make a line. It's called a paintbrush stroke. Save that, refresh. Now we should see a nice effect here. But of course, it's solid here, or static in one value. Let's convert this now into our dynamic value here. Copy that, put it all in here, save this, refresh. Now, if you hover over it, there we are. You can see here, it will just jump automatically to the right position. So I guess this is already very satisfying, but we're not done yet. So we have this now. Next part here will be, we're going to start to work on drawing the items here in the legend here above. And to do that, what I want to do is I'm going to make a circle. Just a quick note, I will not use the on-click effect. That will not be working. And I believe it would not make any sense to have the on-click effect if you're going to show these tooltips, or that you're going to hide the tooltip values. And those values should be shown in the legend. So I think then hiding, or like the on-click effect to hide a legend or a dataset line doesn't make any sense. But of course, if there's a real demand for it, put it in the comment section. I will reply to that, and I will make a separate video for that. What we're going to do now is we're going to create the lines. So let's say your circles. That's the first one. And I'm going to say your constant, and this is very important, with a constant angle equals math. pi, with P and I capitalized, divide by 180. So if you're wondering why I'm doing this, I need to create a circle, but in Canvas, they're working with pi, and pi, basically 2 pi equals a full circle. So what I want to do is I want to get the degree or the angle degree of a circle, which is 360. That's a full circle, but if this is a half, or 1 pi equals a half circle, so that it's equal to 180 degrees. So that's the logic behind that. So now, what I want to do here is basically, I want to say here, ctx.begin path, I want to draw something new. What I'm going to draw is the circles. So we're going to say here, ctx.arc, because the arc is drawing the circle. We have the x position, the y position, and then what we have here as well is we have here the radius, and then we have here the angle start, or the degree start, and then we have the angle end, and then finally we have here counterclockwise, yes or no, counterclockwise, I guess. Alright, so what I want to say here, by default this one we can just do false. This doesn't matter. So this one will be easier. Let's focus on this first. So how do you do this? Well, the angle, remember, we want a full circle from 0 degrees all the way around is 360. So this can be 0 or 0 multiplied by angle, but that is also 0, so that doesn't matter. But the angle here multiplied by 360, because I want 360 degrees, a full circle. The radius here is how big this circle will be, and the radius is the point from the center to one of the edges of a circle. So 2 times a radius, you will have the full length from left to right of the circle, which is another term, I think, diameter, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, for this, let's say here, how many radius can we give here? Maybe 5 pixels. If the text in the legend will be only 12 pixels, 5 pixels with this, then we have still a border line of 1 pixel, then it's alright. I think that would be quite decent. So then we have a total of 12. So that makes sense. So we have this here. Where do we want to position this? For now, I'm going to position it at the 0 here. And then the other one we can do maybe 0 as well, or 10 and 10. I guess that will be fine. Let's try this first. So once we have this, what I want to do now is I want to get the color. I want to say ctx.fill style for the color. And I'll make this for now blue. And then we're going to ctx.stroke style. I'm going to give it here the colors of the line, which is, let's say for now, black. Once we did this, I want to say a ctx.stroke to draw the line, or the border lines basically, and then ctx.fill to draw the inner background color. Save this, refresh, there we are. I'm not sure if you're able to see the black color, so let's make this very light blue, save, there you are. You might be able to see it now better. So we can say here, just to specify the line width, ctx.line width equals 1 pixel. So that will means that the circle is 10 pixels, and then we have an outer border of 1 pixel of up and down, or left and right. So that means 12 pixels in total. So that makes quite decent shape. Alright, so we have this now here, but of course, if we have 3 items, we need to loop through these items. So let's start to work on this. So what I'm going to do here is, well, basically, I'm going to create here a function. And this function, we can say you draw shapes or legend shapes, maybe draw legend. I'll just say draw legend. Because not only the shapes, eventually we'll have to put in the text as well. And then in here, we will have a few items. Well, first of all, probably we have to look at what we're going to put in. But definitely the colors. We're going to say here, let's say here, the fill color. And then we have more the border color. What we will expect more, I think it's probably the text itself. And here I'll just leave it like that for now. And then I know there will be probably more, but we'll see later on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, put it in here, give this a proper indentation, and move this one up. Why? I don't want this to be looped within the function, because it's no use for us to loop something that is already basically a static given value, and we just don't want to loop this. It's just extra loading time. So now what we can do here, because right now if I save this and refresh, nothing happens, it doesn't draw anymore. Why? because we didn't put in here this command. So if we just copy this, we just say here, for example, hello, and then we have here the border color, and let's say blue or light blue, and we say here black, and this must be of course a string value, and then I'm going to copy this fill color, put it in here. We have the border color, we put it in here, and then right now we don't have any text, so that's alright. So refresh, there we are. So we have this black is the fill color black, border color, fill color here would be alright. You can see here light blue, save, refresh. Blue light, that is not of course what I wanted, my bad. Light blue, save, refresh. Alright, now this works, but I'm not satisfied here, because where do we get the information of the colors and these items here? Let's go up here, and remember here when we did the object destructuring of the legend items, this here is our precious value that we're going to use now. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say here console log and just show you what's in here. So if I refresh this, open up developer tool, and then developer tab, and then open up this, you can see here we get all the information we need. We get the fill style, we get I guess here, what is that, the font color if we ever have the text, but I don't grab that text, that's alright. We have the stroke style color, and we have the text. All of those things we need. So what I'm going to do here, because look at this, this is an array of three items, meaning all three of the data sets. So we can loop through this nicely. That's why we have the function prepared here, so we don't have to duplicate this multiple times. And I guess we can cut out the circles, put the circles here. And what I'm going to do here now, I'll leave that one here, but I'm going to say here, the legend item, I'm going to do here a for each loop, a for each. And then what I'm going to do now is the following. We're going to say within here, all these items here, every legend items, we'll just give it a name of item, and then maybe we can put in here the index, that might be useful. Then a function arrow expression, because we're going to create a for loop callback. Now what I want to do is, I want to say here, all of this, but this here, well, let me just, before I get ahead on that, let's show you now the items we need. We need the colors and the text. So we're going to say here, console log, item, save, and let's refresh. And then let me just remove this console log, so we have only this item here that will loop us the array of every item here. And you might say, why are we looping multiple times? Because the animation is being looped through this. So that is one of the things. So we have this one here, and what I want to do here is basically grab here the data, I guess not the data set, hold on, is this the right one? Sorry, no, that is not. This is 112. We have to go, or sorry, that is correct, 112 is correct. So I'm going to click on this, and what I want to grab here is, first of all, let's get the stroke style. So we say this dot stroke style, we should get all of this. So now what I want to do, of course, besides these colors, I need to have another one. Well, let me just show you them, and then we can just put them to work. We have here, if I'm not mistaken, was the fill style. Let's look at this. Alright, we get the fill style, and the final one was the text, which is this here. So if I save this, refresh, alright, so we get blue cells, black cells, etc, etc. So we get all of these items that are basically in the item itself, or the legend item. I'm just breaking them down individually. So now, of course, I don't have to do anything here. Is a draw legend. What I want to do is, this I can hide now, and here these values don't have to be hard coded. This is the stroke style, which is related to the border color. So I'm going to copy this and put it in here, because this is the border color. Next we have here the fill style, which is in here, and then finally we have the text. I'm going to put that in there, and I guess we can just delete all of this, save, refresh. Alright, so now this works, but as you can see here, they're probably overlapping each other. How can we check this? Well, the reason why is the X and Y positioning. So what I can do here for the X, I'm going to say here multiply by, I guess we should have an index here or something like that. So what I'm going to do here, let's say here, comma, put an index in here, and this index I will also be in here. This index is just automatically this here. So if I do this, let's say plus 10 for example, I save that, refresh, you can see here now they're nicely connected with each other. And if I see fill border and border color, index, stroke style, and then I do notice the color here, are they red? It looks like they're all black. Anyway, I have to check on that one. I have to check what's going on there. Let's see here what we're going to do. Let's remove this. Alright, my bad. You can see here the stroke style. What's going on here? I need to type this correctly. So I probably deleted this or something I didn't know about that. Save that, refresh. Now you can see here the colors. Alright, but now there must be some space between here, because what I want to do now is I want to grab the text, and the text should show in here as well. To do this, what I have to do now is to create here the text part of the legend. So what I'm going to say here, first of all, I want to give it, the text must have a proper color. That color is based on the fill style. This is important. So I'm going to copy this, and then well, if I put it in here, I do notice that they're same, so I guess maybe we don't even have to change that at all. But we do need the following, is the font. So I'm going to say the font will be equal, and what we can do here just to make it fancy, let's make it bold, 12 pixels, sans serif, which is just the default Chart.js font size and font family. Normally it's not bold, by the way, so that's just an important one. So then what we can do here is to put in the text. So I say here ctx.fill text, and this text here will be what exactly is the text that we have here. So basically it's 3 items. We have here the text label, I guess, and we can call it the label. We have the X position and the Y position. So for that, the first one is the text, which is just this one here, and then here the positioning. The positioning should be, of course, well positioned with this. So what we have to do here, I'm going to copy all of this, put that in here, and later on we have to fine-tune this, by the way, so don't worry about it. We're going to fine-tune this. And then what I want to do here next is, for this one, because we have 10 pixels here, I do 10 pixels as well here for the height. This is the Y, and this is also the Y. Save this, refresh. You can see here, but I do notice it is not really properly aligned. So what we could do maybe, here I'm going to say enter, and I say ctx that text align will be equal, or maybe not, sorry, not text align, but text baseline, and then we have to put it in the middle or something like that. Middle, save, refresh. Alright, so that looks a bit better, but I'm looking at the fill style, and sorry, my bad, I was talking about the fill style, but the fill style here is not correct. So you can see here it's transparent, of course, because it's the filler inside. I want the border line. So to change this, I'm going to copy this, put it in here. Apparently that's what was in my head, but I was not realizing it. So I'm going to grab this, and I say here the fill style will be this, save, refresh. As you can see here, now it's a bit more readable, or at least the text is readable, but they're all stacked on each other. So for that, we have to now look a little bit more and figure out how can we give it some additional space here. So what I will do here, I guess this is maybe what we can do. I'll just say here 100 for now, or 120 pixels, and then I say comma here. I will say this will be space. Copy this, and later on maybe we can fine tune this, or there's probably always ways to fine tune this. And probably what I want to do is I want to multiply the space here every time 100 or 120 pixels. If I save this, refresh, you can see here it's starting to work nicely for the dots, but not yet for our position, because our positioning here still doesn't match. So if I come to copy this, put that in here, let's copy this and put it in there, save, refresh. Alright, it starts to work slightly better, but not completely. So what we have to do here is, instead of 10, because we have 10 pixels here, but I guess this one is maybe 15, 16 pixels. Sorry, the width of this is 12 pixels, so somehow we're just not or we're slicing it or overlapping it. So I'm going to say here, just to make it fancy, at least 20 pixels. Save, refresh. I would say that this looks quite decent. So now we have this, but of course we're not done yet. This is not an easy video. Alright, so what I want to do here is, I want to show, you can see here black number 9, and you can see here red would be 6 and 6, and here you would have a different one, or this one is a nice one, 8, 6, and here we have 12. So I want to show those numbers here. But what I want to do is I want to colon and then show the numbers like that. So how will we do that? Well, we're going to work here up. Remember we have this here and we can remove this. And then, remember here we have the active part. This will only trigger if we're hovering. And that's basically within that area we can work on this, I guess, hidden or show / hide values. And I want to spell this properly. There we are. So now we have this, and what I want to do then is, I guess what we could do is we could just borrow a lot of these items here, or at least this structure. Probably we don't need this one here. That's not necessary. All what I want is the core of our item. And in here, what I'm going to do is the following. We're going to say here, for this, again, for every item, what I want to do is I want to, well, let's give the text here. I'm going to say ctx.fillStyle, and this fill style, I will make it slightly different by saying this color will be gray, I guess, as well. Very similar to what we have above, just same gray color. Then what I want to do is, I want to say here as well, ctx.font equals the bold. I want to have just exactly the same font structuring like this. So there's no differences in what we're doing. So we say here, let's grab this one, bold sans serif. Next, what I want to do here, I want to have the, I guess here the text itself. So ctx.fill text. And what we're going to do here is, first of all, remember we had to have put in here the text, the x, and the y value. So if we're going to do this, what do we need here? Well, let's work on the basics. What I do know about the y is 10 pixels here, 10 pixels there, and so 10 pixels. So it's always on the same position or same level. That's number one. Next, what I want to do here is, let's see here, we had 120. So I'm going to put in 120 pixels for now. And then maybe multiply by index. And as the index is here, it's the same structure as what we did here. And 120 pixels comes from this here. So we could even maybe give it a variable or something if you want. That's fine as well. I will just leave it hard coded for now, but you could do a variable. That's no problem. So it's consistent. So if I do this and save this, let's see what's going on here. If I hover over here, alright. Of course, why it doesn't work? Text is not defined. My bad. I forgot here something. So what I'm going to say here is, let's say number 10, for example. Save, refresh. Let's change that. And there we are. As you can see here, it shows and then hides when we are away from our hovering effect on the tooltip. So now I want to move that to the very end here. What we need here is two things. We're going to concatenate. Let's put in here this like that. If I save that, so we have here. Alright, so we have a column. So we only show the column and the 10. Now what I want to do is I want to push this here, and this is a slightly more tricky one because we have to know the coordinates, and then later on we need to make this a variable because this is not yet, this is just a static value now, so that's not allowed. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look here, just put it in here above. I'm going to create a constant, and what I want to do is I want to say a text width as the constant. What we're going to measure is the text, and the text what I'm referring to is this black cells, blue cells, and red cells. What is the width from this point all the way to there? Because then we can just nicely latch on to the end here. So that's what we want to do. So we're going to say a text width, and Canvas has this option. Say ctx dot measure text, and then this measure text will be item dot text. It's just the same thing as what we did here, because here we have the text value, item dot text, exactly the same, and we say dot width. So once we have this, then column, and then we're going to save that. And where are we going to put this? Well, let me think. we probably have to put this item, where can we put that? Probably somewhere in here. So what I want to do here is the index, I guess plus this, save, refresh. Now hover. Alright, as you can see here, we're getting closer, but remember, we're still missing about 20 pixels. Why 20 pixels? This point to here is 20 pixels, remember? Because we had here down, I guess here was a default, and the minimum would be 20 pixels. So what we need to do here is to say here, I guess plus 20 as well. Or what we could do, we just make the width here plus 20 pixels. Save that. So then this will be plus 20 pixels by default. Refresh. There we are. Absolutely phenomenal. So now we have our item here. Of course, you cannot click this away, but to be honest, I really love this. Looks really fascinating. One note here, please don't increase the size of the font size unless you're going to increase the font size of this. And the reason why is, if not, it will recalculate itself with a different font size, and then it doesn't understand exactly the positioning. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, well, let me show you here. 14, save, refresh. Then if I move this, look at this. Now it calculates the right position because of the font size it calculates, which has more pixels between every character. So that's why this must be very consistent. I'm sure that there are ways to do it. How? I don't know yet. But you can just figure that one out on your own. However, I'm not done yet because we want to solve this one here. What I want to do now is I want to grab the values, whatever value we are hovering on. So how do we do this? Well, let's go up here. Remember the data here. And this data is just basically referencing to this item here. So what I want to do is I want to grab this, and then I want to go into the data sets, and then the data, and then whatever the index would be. So how do we do this? Let's start to go down here. Where are we? It is in this part. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use an ES6, what do you call that? A template literal. So backtick instead of single quotation. So we have the backtick here, both sides. That's on your keyboard below your escape button. And now I can use here a variable. Oh, sorry, that was not what I wanted to do. I can use here a variable, $, this. And now I just want to go to datasets index. And here comes the most important part. What is the index we're going to use? Well, remember this that we prepared in advance, where we get the data set when we hover over it. I'm just going to grab this, put it in here. And then we're going to say here dot data, and then which index number? Well, remember this one here. Everything has been prepared well. Save this. Let's remove this here, or just comment this out. Save, refresh. And now, oh, let me just refresh that. Now if I hover, look at that. Beautiful. And then if I go here, it's 9. Hold on, is it working correctly? I'm afraid it's not, sorry. So I have to see here what's going on. Let's see. Hold on, I thought I did this correctly, but apparently I am forgetting something. So what I need to do here is, oh, of course. So what I'm doing here is very dangerous, of course, so this is not really allowed. We need to check here something. Hold on, let me just check this. So let me explain what I did that was a mistake. That is this part here. I knew this was a mistake because it grabs all the numbers. And the reason why, of course, is this one is where we're hovering on. So if you're hovering on this one, then, well, I already fixed that, of course, but it should be like this. If I hover on this one, what is happening is it grabs only the value of this index or data set. That's why we have all these of 9. So what we want to do is to make sure that we get them all, and all we have to do for that is, that's why we have this here, copy that, put that in here. And then we can save this, and then refresh, and then we should have now all of them correctly. The black will be 9, and then we have double 6. If I go on 18 here, red 18, and let me just hide the tooltip. We don't need the tooltip anymore. In the plugins, I'm going to say tooltip, and then we say here enabled equals false. Am I correct? That's how you spell it. Yes. Save, refresh. Alright, so if you hover over this, 12, 5, 8, that is correct. 5, 8, this one here, 18, and then we have 6 and 9. There we are. Absolutely phenomenal. And that's basically how we can do this. Of course, you cannot click them away. We could make that, but for this video, I will not cover that. I might make a separate video for that. So if you enjoyed this video and maybe you want, for example, or you need something else like a complete customized HTML legend, in that case I'm going to recommend you this video here on how to create a HTML legend in Chart.js.